A couple of things I wanted to talk to you about and just kind of kick around. I have opinions on these things, but not certainties. The first is a comment that Bernie Sanders made last night that really got me thinking. He was speaking with, as I recall, Rachel Maddow. It might have been Chris Hayes, might have been somebody else, but he was asked, okay, if Manchin has blown this thing up, the Build Back Better bill, then what are you going to do? And Bernie just came right out with both barrels. I mean, you know, first off, he said what he has said before publicly on a couple of occasions. You know, the Manchin's going to have to explain to the senior citizens of West Virginia why they can't have hearing aids and dental help. And he's going to have to explain to the young families of West Virginia why they can't have the child tax credit and why they can't get inexpensive daycare and education for their kids and stuff like that. You know, he went through that list. But then he said, we're just going to have to elect, this is not an exact quote, I'm doing this from memory, I'm just paraphrasing here. Then he basically said, we're going to have to, he said, put it up or down for a vote in January, right? In 2 weeks, basically, 3 weeks, when the Senate is back together, put this thing on the floor for a vote. And if Manchin is still voting against it, if he votes no with the Republicans, then we head for the 2022 election. In other words, make this an issue in the 2022 election. Hey, progressives, if you actually want to see the stuff in Build Back Better, if you actually want to see a $500 billion challenge to climate change that's going to change the nature of the electricity that we, you know, of electricity generation in the United States, if you actually want to see, you know, people no longer encumbered with massive student debt, if you want to, that may have already been removed from it, but I'm not certain that, you know, if you want to see, well, you know the list. I mean, I'm burning through time here. Basically, that what we should do is go out in the 2022 election and say it's time to elect more Democrats to the Senate, and use that failure of Joe Manchin to get Joe Biden's legislation passed. Use that as the lever, as the wedge, as the tool, as the campaign issue, as the talking point to challenge Republicans who are running for the Senate. We don't know yet if Chuck Grassley's going to run again, but odds are slim that he will. In Ohio, Rob Portman is not running for re-election, another Republican senator. In Pennsylvania, the Republican senator, his name is escaping me, but he's not running for re-election. I mean, there's a number of Republican seats that could be toss-ups as we go into this election. Now, I get there's a couple of Democratic seats, too. Warnock's down in Georgia's, but, you know, probably at the top of that list where, you know, we need to be helping these folks out. But Bernie wasn't saying, you know, if this thing fails, it will help us win elections in 2022. But I'm wondering if that might be the case. Again, and you know, if you're a longtime listener to this program, you know that I'm an optimist. I'm always trying to, you know, Reagan's old joke, you know, I know there's a pony in here somewhere. I'm always trying to try to make lemonade out of lemons. But hey, if this is the situation we have, if we've got a couple of Democratic senators, Manchin and Sinema, and in this case specifically Manchin, although Sinema seems to be in on it with him, and taking money from right-wing billionaires along with him. If we've got a couple of Democratic senators who are going to vote with the Republicans, we need to get more Democratic senators who will not vote with the Republicans, but who will vote with the American people. And that seems like a hell of a rallying cry for 2022. I mean, basically, the sales pitch for 2022 for Democrats is either going to be, look at the great stuff we did, elect us and we'll do more of it, which, you know, is the kind of momentum message. Don't stop us now, we're on a roll. Well, sometimes that works against you. It activates the other side. It gets the Republicans to come out and go, oh, no, You know, we don't want those seniors to have dental care. Oh, no. We don't want young families to have child tax credits that are paid for by taxes on billionaires. Are you kidding? We don't want Medicare to be expanded. Are you nuts? We want, you know, the health insurance companies are making contributions to us. So sometimes when you're on a roll, it actually works to your detriment politically. Yes, the people who are on your side are all enthusiastic, but they also figure, hey, they're on a roll. I don't need to show up and vote. They're doing just fine. Whereas if what you're, you know, if you can have some significant accomplishments, and Joe Biden has, and the Democrats in Congress have had some really significant accomplishments. Between the American Rescue Act back in June of this year and the so-called BIF, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Plan, or framework, I guess, is what the F in the BIF stands for. Those two pieces of legislation are very consequential. You already have Republicans running on the outcome of the election, those pieces of legislation that they voted against. So going to the voters in 2022 and saying, hey, we got some good stuff done, but we also tried to do some really cool stuff, and we got stymied by, we just need a couple more senators. We need a couple of genuine progressives in the United States Senate on the Democratic side. So help us get them. I think that, you know, when you look at the math of politics, that actually, as terrible as this is in this moment, and this assumes, of course, that they're not going to work out a compromise. And frankly, I think they will. I think that there will probably be a $1.5, maybe even a $1.7 trillion bill. But, you know, keep in mind, the Build Back Better bill was originally $6 trillion over 10 years. $600 billion a year. And now it's $1.7 trillion. It went from 6 to 4 to 3.5 to 3 to 2.5. Each time, by the way, because Joe Manchin was squealing. And now it's down at 1.7 trillion. So I'm guessing that they're going to work out some kind of a compromise. Manchin is either, we talked about this yesterday, he's either going to, leave the party, become an independent, and probably continue to caucus with the Democrats as long as they're in control. Or he's going to come around. He's going to say, I'm not going to abandon the Democratic Party. So I could build a case either way, that we can win if we message correctly on a loss, or we can win if we message correctly on momentum. What I'm not willing to do is be in despair because Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema are not helping out on this or on voting rights or anything else, because I think that all of these things are still on the table, and we, and hopefully will continue to be after the election. Excuse me. Hopefully will be resolved before the election. If not, after the election, hopefully Democrats will still have enough power that they can pass these things. I get it. The conventional wisdom is we're going to lose the House, and that's likely, largely because of gerrymandering, by the way. But the Senate, I think, is a toss-up right now. So, where do we go with this?